one thing I'd like to do is establish uh, in each of my recorded videos, I want to either bring an unpopular opinion or show you something that's underrated or, something like that. Just a little extra bonus there at the end, uh, just to kind of address more subjects than maybe just one big thing and have a little bit of variety and be able to touch on a lot of different areas that I had hoped to. Right now, I just got done with a big recording session and I just wanted to record a few thoughts, share a few thoughts on a discussion that happened on a live stream a couple nights ago. Uh, and I don't want to make this confrontational at all. I'm just bringing my thoughts, developing my thoughts maybe more fully than what I was able to share as just leaving comments. And it was about the Joker movie that just came out. One thing that I love about the community and I loved about that conversation we had from the guys doing the live stream and the remarks that were left in the chat, that it was so civil, that we were bringing different opinions and no one got upset, no one got pissed off, no one said screw you guys, I'm leaving. It was civil. It was, hey, this is what we think, and other people were like, well, this is what I think. So with the Joker movie, I hadn't planned to go see it. I've been a lifelong Batman fan. I love the Joker. A book like this that focused on the Joker, focused on his origin story. I think this was actually supposed to be like the first definitive origin story uh, ever brought to the page. I love it. It's a classic. You can't beat Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons and the story they tell on this. But I think, part of the reason we like this so much is because it had a certain amount of shock value to it. Um, it in this book, you had the shooting of Barbara Gordon that paralyzed her for years, and we saw that as such a touchstone event. We all appreciated that character and what she meant a lot to us, whether we remembered her so fondly from the '66 TV show or in her uh, Silver Age adventures. And by the time this happened, I think they had just brought her back to do like Batgirl special, and then she made an appearance in here where she was shot and paralyzed. Um, and they did that for a reason. They knew that if they wounded a character that we cared about, it would be something different. It would carry more weight, and it really did. And you think about the books that came out around this era. Dark Knight Returns came out just a few years before this one. Watchmen had just come out a few years before. And this was the time when comics got a little bit darker. They got a little bit more realistic, and but what they did was they carried that extra weight of a disaster could happen at any time that would impact a character we cared a lot about. So bring that to today, we see everything that happens in comics where Marvel actually had a marketing plan of once a quarter we're going to kill off a character, and we all knew 1 or 2 years down the road that character is going to come back, but they got news in the headlines about it. But you think about what we like about an evil character like the Joker. We all know he's psychotic. We all know he's demented. But we always know Batman's going to take him down in the end. Joker's not going to win. We think about what's going on in society today, where we have, it seems like, I really want to say it seems like, because this has been happening for longer than we like to talk about. We see mass shootings, right? We saw a guy dress up like the Joker and go into a movie theater that was showing a Batman film and shot a bunch of people. Is one of the most heartbreaking experiences I think we could possibly fathom in this hobby. And I don't think they thought about that and said, you know, that happened. Let's go make a movie about the about what happened to the Joker. What would make him descend so badly to the point that, you know, he would become this big arch villain. In the case of the, I don't want to call him the real Joker, but that shooter, we know he had some serious mental illness. I I have to say I'm honest enough to say I haven't followed up to really kind of see what his deal was, see what his background was. But we're dealing with, in the current day, we're dealing with mental illness problems that have gone un, unaddressed for too long. And so when a movie comes out where we're going to show only the descent into madness of this person, so that at the end of the movie, by the end of the movie, he is going to be the Joker. He's going to be the evil one. And I heard it. Heard one of the people that had seen the film describe it as, we almost felt sorry for him. And I'm sure that's what they would have to do. They did this a few years ago with the remake of the Halloween movies, where they made Michael Myers into this kind of character that we were like, oh, he went through all that as a kid. Now he's this big evil guy, right? I don't know. For me, it's hitting too close to home as far as where we are in society, and really focusing on that in this villain. It doesn't help that in this film we don't have Batman there to kind of take him down. Like I said, I haven't seen the film. I hadn't planned to see it. I'm not opposed to seeing the film based on what I've heard is the great quality of the filmmaking, the acting, the performing, and the directing. I've heard it was mentioned in the live stream. Well, what if this wasn't called the Joker movie? If it wasn't called the Joker, it would still be a great film. And I think about that, and I think about all the other films that I watch that aren't superhero movies, that you watch it and you think, man, The Incredibles, that was a great Fantastic Four movie. All they had to do was rename the characters and make them look a little bit different. It would be the Fantastic Four if they would have done it right. I'm sure it'd be the same case for this film, that if they had done it and called it The Clown, and everything happened, we'd walk out of it saying, man, that would have been an excellent Joker movie. But for me, I need to see Batman in it to take him down. And I'm not saying I'll never go watch the film. I'm a fan of good quality filmmaking. And I have to say that the commentary that I heard the other night has switched me from I have no urgency to go see it to I would like to go see it while it's still out in theaters and evaluate it for what it is. But as I think about this, and another book or another series that kind of brought this to mind was The Boys. I'd never read the comics. I understood from the beginning, based on Garth Ennis as the writer, I understand what that was. I knew what he was doing. There's a place for it. There was a market for it. I have no serious problems with it. But I never read the books, but I watched the Amazon series, or most of it. And after the first episode, I didn't like it at all. I just thought, I want my superheroes to be good guys. I don't know what it is. A lot of people, I've heard it said that, you've established your values by the time you're 4 or 5 years old. That your your world, your situation has influenced you to be who you are by that time. So I look at my upbringing, and by that time, my heroes were and Superman and Batman. They were always there to save the day. And I'm not saying I want to live in a fantasy world. Well, honestly, we're reading comics. We do want to live in that fantasy world. I'm prepared to set my parameters for what can and can't happen in that fantasy world. But I'm always in this mode of self analysis. And in this case, I watch The Boys. I'm like, I don't, I don't want my comics to be that. I don't want my superheroes to be jerks. I'll save a more serious term for a more open or appropriate audience. But so I started reevaluating my comic collection, and just thinking about, okay, what comics do I have that would have been like that? And I knew I had some, and I'm not gonna throw out The Watchmen. It's a all-time classic. It's a masterpiece in the comic book art form. I'm not gonna throw out The Dark Knight Returns. It changed my look at Batman. But I thought, and I'm not gonna throw out The Killing Joke either. It's too good. But I wanted to go through and see, okay, where are what books do I have that where the superheroes aren't where they aren't moral. A guy like the Punisher has his own set of morals, and that's a whole different. I have an unpopular take on him too. I like the character as much as everyone else, but I don't know. I've got a commentary on that for later. But this was a book that I found, a series that I found, where I'm like, I don't want to keep this in my collection anymore. So this came out, I think, while I was in college, which would have been in the early '90s. It's called Brat Pack by Rick Veitch. The You've heard of like the seduction of the innocent, the witch hunting that went on in the comic book industry back in the 50s, where the psychologists got Congress on board with hunting down, all these evil comics that are corrupting our youth. Yeah, I really got to get the glare off of that one. But this series pretty much takes everything he accused comic book superheroes of being and put that into print as, okay, this is the world. This is what the world would look like if all that were true. So I'm not going to get into describing it. And I don't want to act like I'm being holier than thou. If the people enjoy this, it's go ahead. It's your thing. It's not mine. So anybody's in the market for a signed set of Brat Pack, let me know. We'll work something out. how do I start a video and how do I end it? I need to have something that says, here I am. So, okay, here, clobbering time. It's clobbering time. It's going to be fun. And then I needed a way to finish them out. So how was I going to do that? I like the boy at 7. He's got his whole mischief managed thing. It's one of those things where I don't know exactly where that came from, but I understand what he's doing. I understand what that means to him. I mean, I can read between the lines a lot to kind of figure it out. But for me, it's the whole faith, family, comic books. See you next time thing. So I just wanted to explain kind of what I mean by that, where I'm coming from. And it's faith, that there's something bigger than me or you as an individual. For me, it's a belief in God. I'm a Christian. For other people, it's other things. So have faith in something bigger than you as yourself. Put that first. Second is family. Family should always be important, and I realize that people don't always come from the fortunate situation I have, where I have a great, solid family network around me. I really wish everyone can experience that, to be as blessed as I've been. Some aspects of it, we'll put it this way, none of it's smooth sailing. There's been trouble, sure, everybody's got it, but I'm not gonna put my comic books ahead of my family. So what that means in practical matters is, okay, it's like this: it's faith, family, comic books, and YouTube is getting down here, where I still want to do YouTube. I want to interact more than I have before, to do my own videos, but I can't let those other two things impact my action on my faith, or taking care of family, doing family stuff. And then comics. So for me, I've had a lot of hobbies along the years. I've collected a lot of things, and what I'm finding is, once I'm done taking care of faith and family, I don't have time for a whole lot else. I do my freelance work, which takes up a lot of time, and so I've narrowed down the scope of things that I want to concentrate on. I used to be a huge NFL football fan. I traveled across the country twice to watch the Seattle Seahawks, who were my favorite team, play in their stadium. I love the city of Seattle. They were great experiences, both the games and just being in the city, the travel. But the faith and family have taken up a lot of time. I don't want to drop comic books, so I watched 15 minutes of an NFL game the other day, and that's the first I watched. We're in week 5 of the season. I don't think I watched anything except for maybe the first half of the Super Bowl last year, and it's all because I want what I'm concentrating on to matter most to me. And even it comes down to finances too, where there's so many things to collect: pops, action figures, sideshow toys, beautiful, awesome collectible statues. I've got 3 statues. I've got the second and third statues DC ever put out: Batman and Lobo. I didn't get Sandman. I think that was the first. I could have the order wrong, but I've got 2 of the 3 first. But I was a big Batman collector. I've got all the 89 Batman toys and figures, but they put out so much that you just can't keep up with it all. So I've narrowed my focus down to ignoring all the other collectibles, to just spending on comics. Just put the money on comics, because I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm not spending a lot of money on it, but when I do spend money on something, I want it to matter most. So that's a summary of what my little sign off is, just to kind of let you guys know where I stand. So please, as always, and I say this so rarely, please subscribe, like this video if you like it or tolerate it, or at least want to show some sign that you've watched and appreciate my efforts. We'll see you next time. Faith, family, comic books. Bye, guys.